When I try something new, it almost always doesn't work out right the first few times. So before I gave a try at cleaning up and re-anodizing these 90s Raceface cranks, I did a few tests beforehand. And those tests worked out okay. They weren't perfect. They helped me prove out the concept that yes, I could anodize something. Now, while I was working on this, I decided to also do some work on a stem. You see, actually, both these cranks and the stem are parts that I want to install on one of my upcoming builds. So I'm like a lot of you. I watch YouTube videos, and like I said, I'm still learning here. We're on to this anodizing process, and everyone says simple green is the key thing to use to clean the parts up. This titanium wire is also what they recommend using. It works well in keeping the conductivity that's needed to the aluminum parts to make the anodizing happen, because even though it anodizes, it doesn't lose its conductivity. So yeah, titanium wire. Rinsing. I'm prepping here the sulfuric acid bath. Went to the auto parts store to get that acid. And we're gonna anodize these for like an hour at 1 amp. The sulfuric acid, by the way, is diluted. 5 parts distilled water to 4 parts acid. This I didn't test beforehand. So you can start to see some of the mistakes I've made already here. That anodizing, although it looks super cool like a nebula in space, it's not quite what I was going for. But undaunted, I kept going. I'm sealing in that anodizing by boiling it at 180 degrees. Now here's a close-up. You can see this did not work out perfect. The masking I tried to do with the Raceface logo, you can see the transfer tape damaged the oxide layer that was created. I also had several spots where it was obvious I didn't sand deep enough. And then the cool nebula look comes from bubbles in the dye. The stem fared a little better, albeit it didn't absorb the color quite like what I wanted. It also was lighter than I wanted it to be. So it was back to cleaning up the cranks. And the stem. And re-anodizing them. This time I actually bumped up the current to 2 amps. Was my target goal. I ran it again, still for an hour, before rinsing and dyeing the cranks. And yeah, so much better this time around. Sometimes it just takes multiple efforts to get to something or a result that you like. Now, these weren't perfect, but boy, did this second attempt on these cranks turn out so much better than the first. And it's a result that I'm happy with. Now, I still have a lot more I can learn, and I look forward to anodizing more stuff in the future. But we're on a path that's got a good result, and I'm happy with it. Even though we didn't quite mask the Raceface forged logo on the cranks. I'm happy to be able to just put some silver vinyl on these cranks. Now, the final act of this crank restoration includes a 1x chainring. This one is a wolf-toothed one made for a surly crank that is made to have one of the chainring bolts underneath the crank arm. And for me to make this work, I need to actually drill out the hole just a little bit so that I can run a chainring bolt through it. So the moral of the story is, when you're learning something new, don't be discouraged, don't give up, just keep trying and working at it. I've still got some learning to go. But I gave this crank some new life. So look for opportunities to give those old things new life. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Ciao.